Nothing else is going on in the interwebs except we can still watch some Sunny V2 videos. But let me see. Let me just open that one. Ellen tried to make a comeback and it's not going well. This is interesting. I want to see that.
She spends most of the special responding to her being kicked out of showbiz.
Imagine paying money for Ellen's stand-up comedy. I have not watched many of his shows, her shows, because I don't really like her as a person, and her shows has been very toxic and weird and uncomfortable to watch. Always very cringe, always very low in terms of humor. But you know, for some reason, she had a very large following for a very long time. But after being super toxic and being called out, you know, kicked out of show business, which is great, nice to see. However, Netflix special, haven't seen that, and I'm not gonna see that. So I'm just gonna watch this recap of this Scheisse and see what is being talked, here. But I will never watch Ellen's stand-up because she's not funny.
Right now, we all need a little kindness. You know, like Ellen DeGeneris always talks about. She's also notoriously one of the meanest people alive.
Nice.
Respond to this with the most insane stories you've heard about Ellen being mean. The tweet posted
Interesting.
in March 2020.
Yeah, that's the reason
Applies to begin
it started.
Downfall. I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia a brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand.
Like, imagine doing that. Like, you know, we can't take this information as if it was like true or not. It's just allegations and it could be fake and so on. But let's pretend it's not like fake or anything like that. Let's pretend it's real, right? Maybe it is real, right? Imagine you go eat somewhere and you actually care about how the waitress looks, you know? Like, especially if you go to those very tiny details. Maybe if the hands were actually like super dirty, right? Like chipped nail, like this can happen, you know, to anyone. And even chipped nail polish or like, you know, the gel nails, you know, they can break off during the shift and so on. And even just the normal nails can break, you know, every now and then. You know, shit happens, right? But like imagine like even looking at a person that closely, like imagine you look at a waitress or your waiter that like closely, like you're doing full inspection, looking like from head to toe. Crazy. How can one person be so weird, you know? And you know, I understand maybe if the waitress or waiter had the hands like a mechanic, you know, full like dirty, like, you know, to the elbows, then you know it will make sense. Like, hey, I don't want my food to be served by someone who just like came out from under the car, you know, that makes sense. You don't want to see that. But like if it's just like a normal waiter, you know, I don't know, complain about chipped nail polish, who cares about that, you know? Not even on her plate, right? Crazy. I don't know. And taking the time to write a letter to the owner and complain, what do you like? You should always think about like what do you want to achieve by doing that? What do you want to achieve? Take a moment, think about that, right? Do you want to get a refund? Do you want to get like what is the outcome? What do you want? Do you want the person to get fired? Why? What is the end goal for you? So before writing a letter of complaint, you should always like think about like what are you going to get out of it? Like, are you gonna like get discount, something else? Like, do you want stuff to be improved upon? Like, you should think about like what do you want to achieve. This is nuts.
I worked till closing the night before, and this was the next morn. Almost got me fired. The nail polish story
So crazy.
was so unbelievable. The person who wrote it went on Inside Edition.
This former waitress claims she was threatened with a 2-week suspension after Ellen DeGeneris complained about, of all things, her chipped fingernail polish.
If your employer is that nuts, you shouldn't work in a place like that. I know sometimes you can't choose where you work, you know, for many reasons. But that's insane. If your employer is so disgusting as well, you even like start like, you know, criticizing you and mocking you and like, you know, calling you out on something like that could happen during the shift or whatever, you know. Crazy, disgusting work environment and also disgusting person.
I remember just being like, Really?
But the stories shared back on Twitter were only getting worse. I once worked at Warner Brothers. One day I was in the elevator and Ellen and her entourage came in. Naturally, I held it for her and asked her what floor she was getting on. Her assistant answered 3rd floor. 30 minutes later, I got a call from my boss saying I was fired because I was harassing her.
Wow. Imagine that happening. Harassing her, like you did something good, and you almost not almost, but you got like 100% fired. Holy shit, crazy.
An old friend worked on her a lot and smiled and said good afternoon to her one day, and she became unhinged. Who do you think you are? You don't look at me, yada yada. She said Portia was with her and seemed embarrassed and tried to calm her down.
Wow. Imagine you think about yourself like that much. You think you're the queen or the king of the world. When someone says hello and good afternoon, you're gonna freak out. What the holy shit? Like, how can you even be that disgusting as a person? Like how? Like what? Like, is there a tutorial? Maybe instead of a stand-up comedy, she should make like a documentary how to be a disgusting piece of scheiße. That would be better. It would get more clicks because more people who are aspire to be like a piece of shit will actually watch that, and it would be good content and not get bad reviews and ratings. It will actually get higher reviews and ratings because it would be a good tutorial how to be a piece of shit.
The responses went on and on and on, all of which being compared to Ellen's classic catchphrase.
I always end each show by saying be kind to one another.
Audience member Dana DiMatteo
right,
went
irony,
with her degrading experience on the show.
They tell you, you can't be smarter, funnier than Ellen. She's the comedian and the star, not you.
Don't be funnier than Ellen.
I mean, that's a challenge, right? It's like those try not to laugh challenges, but in reverse. There should be like try not to laugh challenge for Ellen, and it's like the duration of that react is the whole stand up and longer.
Gonna be hard considering she's not that funny to begin with.
Yeah, she's not funny at all.
If you've been a comedian your whole life and you're afraid a random audience member will upstage you, maybe you're just not funny.
Exactly.
Dana then revealed that Ellen's completely different when the cameras turn off.
How does the Ellen we see on TV compare to the Ellen you saw when the cameras stopped rolling?
Totally different. She would only speak to the audience when the cameras were rolling. As soon as they turned the cameras off, she would not even acknowledge the audience. She would just sit on the couch, basically.
Which was
it's so weird. Like, I bet like she went on the smartphone as well to just scroll on TikTok, I don't know, like, how can you be that disgusting or so weird? Actually, it's also weird, if you think that high of yourself. I think it's just funny. It's funny how you can be so disgusting, and I'm actually surprised why people didn't like call this shit out like for years now, or for a very long time. Because right now, this description, it actually sounds like Krusty the Clown, After the cameras go down, he starts to like drinking booze and doing whatever and yelling at people. That's how this is, basically.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar. That's what she is.
Oh shit.
Things were different when the cameras weren't rolling.
We were told from the very beginning, don't talk to Ellen, don't do this, you can't go into her office. It was very nerve-wracking, very stressful. We all walked on eggshells all the time.
And after the show's DJ also said the same, BuzzFeed launched their own investigation, interviewing a further 11 former employees. They were fired after taking medical leave or bereavement days to attend family funeral.
Good on those people for like getting rid of that kind of shitty work environment. Disgusting. I mean, this is like that should be like criminal, basically. That should be. I think that is actually illegal, but people should like call out on that kind of behavior.
One employee who claimed she was fed up with comments about her race essentially walked off the job. Others said they were also instructed by their direct managers to not speak to DeGeneris if they saw her around the office. After the accusations went viral, Ellen issued a statement within the company. Hey everybody, it's Ellen. On day one of our show, I told everyone in our first meeting that the Ellen DeGeneres show would be a place of happiness. No one would ever raise their voice, and everyone would be treated with respect.
No one gonna raise their voice if you are not allowed to talk with each other.
Obviously something changed, and I'm disappointed to learn that this has not been the case, and for that I'm sorry. Anyone who knows me knows it's the opposite of what I believed and what I hoped for our show, yet Ellen's former producer certainly didn't buy it.
So when Ellen says she's not aware of this environment, you don't think that rings true?
It's a lie.
Ellen then took
It's a lie.
break and began a brand new season by addressing the public.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
No, you're not. You're just sorry that your shit got cancelled. I think, like, her shit getting cancelled is the funniest she has ever been.
Today, we are starting a new chapter.
She'd then make the promise.
Yeah, new chapter
I'm
of
committed to making this the best
of
season
failing.
we've ever had.
Although the ratings said the opposite, because
Womp
only
womp.
6 months later, the New York Times published Ellen DeGeneris loses 1 million viewers after apologies for toxic workplace. It explained
Cringe.
that Ellen had been averaging 1.5 million viewers over the last 6 months, down from 2.6 million in
That's
the
pretty
same
bad. That's a
period
pretty
last year.
great
The
downfall.
show's loss of more than 1 million viewers translates to a 43% decline, representing a
Yikes.
steeper drop than any of its competitors. As a result, Ellen made the announcement,
I am announcing that next season, season 19, is going to be my last season.
adding on
Nice.
the Hollywood Reporter, as great as this show is, and as fun as it is, it's just not a challenge anymore. I need something new to challenge me, with her being exposed also clearly having an impact. She'd state the expose destroyed me, honestly. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. And it makes me really sad that there's so much joy out there from negativity. It's a culture now where there are just mean people, and it's so foreign to me that people get joy out of that.
Imagine like blaming everyone and everything else but yourself. What do you expect? Like, I would say, like, you've had a pretty good run to begin with. Because if you have had 18 seasons of shit posting essentially and getting all this money and fame, and only now you're being cancelled, you had it pretty good, you know?
Even without the controversy, the show hasn't been fun and genuine for years. It may have
Been
never
very
been,
toxic,
but
always.
at least it seemed like it. But Ellen is tired of it all, and she's lousy at hiding it now. No more dancing by her, no monologue half the time, bad jokes that are dragged out way too long, tons of old show clips, tons of self-promotion, and a guest host every Friday. These elements led to an average final season, which Ellen concluded by crying with her audience.
I wonder if the crying audience is also like full of paid actors. That would be funny. You have to hire people to cry with them. Or maybe you're just like shit talking them until they are starting to cry. I don't know. Very weird.
Then mentioned the possibility of returning to acting, but instead
I don't think anyone wants to see her act.
Ellen rather went back to living a quiet life until April 2024, when she'd make a new announcement.
Now that's interesting. Like, you know, everyone hates you. You're like the villain of the entertainment industry. And then you try to come back with a stand-up. You are trying to be funny once again, you know, starting from the bottom. It ain't gonna work if you suck at making jokes.
Titled For Your Approval, the special begins with Ellen walking up a flight of stairs, each referencing a headline that ruined her reputation. She acknowledges the tweet that started her downfall, as well as the employees who spoke out against her, then begins the actual show with a joke about her fall from grace.
You know, I used to say that I didn't care what other people thought of me. And I realize now, looking back, I said that at the height of my popularity.
Imagine you go watch a stand-up where the stand-up artist is like having tears in their eyes. It's so funny, like making those very deep cut jokes and just being like very sad on the stage. Holy shit!
Because I love doing stand-up, I miss doing stand-up, and I like making people happy.
Yeah, you had so much time to make people happy, but you failed. Now you're just, you know, grinding there on the stand-up stage. Wow.
And I do care what people think.
Yeah, obviously.
Now, this is a pretty respectable angle, as it feels extremely honest. Yet it also seems like a sneaky request for pity, which as a high-profile celebrity you'll simply never get. She then talks about what she's been up to.
All right, well, let me catch up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last.
No one cares, to be honest. No one gives a shit. Write a book. Maybe someone reads it. The audience is quiet. Imagine trying to be funny when everyone who came and actually paid money for that shit is like waiting for something cool to happen, cringing. because they expect the worst and they are going to get bad performance anyways. So imagine like the people who actually support you enough to pay for the ticket come in there and they just look at your shit and they're like, even those people are like laughing at your shit. Well, I said that too soon, but I think that might be a laugh track. I didn't even understand the joke. Maybe I'm dumb.
And talks about
Let me listen to it again.
All right, well, let me catch up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last.
Why are people laughing? I don't get it. Did I miss? Is that like some ultra high IQ joke that I just missed? What? How can you be funny when you make such faces?
Everybody heard that I was mean. Everywhere I go, I know everyone's heard that I'm mean. I know when I walk into a restaurant, people are watching, waiting to see if I'll be mean.
Okay, you're just telling your life story here. Where's the joke?
Oh, look, she's reaching for butter.
For the pen, maybe, to write the complaint. You never know.
I thought she was gonna hit somebody.
Or that.
There are some pretty out-of-touch segments. For example, her joking about her car features, which you'd clearly only find in a luxury vehicle.
Then there's that one, that button that inflates the back of the seat. You know, the one that makes you feel like you're getting spooned by a pregnant woman.
She also makes this out-of-touch joke.
We're all interested in different things. We're all good at different things. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, Ellen, I don't know how you get on stage in front of people. I could never do that. And I said, well, I don't know how you dry clean clothes.
Maybe it's because I don't like the person who tells the jokes. So, you know, trying to impress me is going to be even more difficult, you know what I mean? But that's not good. That's just not good material right there. It's just not good. It's just not funny. If it was funny, I'd laugh. But it's not funny. Just flexing.
But as an overall, the special isn't terrible. Its audience rating of 5.4 stars.
So far, it was pretty terrible. Don't, you know, you can say what you want. This shit was not funny.
Although, as you might expect, simply because it's Ellen, the articles written about it have been pretty brutal. Ellen DeGeneris' unfunny Netflix special leaves so much unsaid. Ellen DeGeneris lets herself off the hook in self-indulgent Netflix special. Ellen DeGeneris is unapologetic, unrelatable, and totally insufferable in her new Netflix special. They'd write, the problem with For Your Approval, aside from the fact that it's almost never funny, is that it feels so disingenuous, so calculated to rehabilitate an image and preserve that triumph for prosperity. Another article stated it's one of the weirdest stand-up shows in recent memory. Half observational punchlines, half closing argument in a trial, featuring DeGeneris as her own defense attorney. Neither half works on its own. Taken as a whole, it's an exhausting mess.
I guess if it was like more brutally honest, then it will maybe work. But just like saying those things again about yourself in this kind of like very neutral kind of way, I think that's what kills the shit. Like you're like, yeah, I did some, like I might have been mean. That's not gonna cut it, you know. If you will go like all in, just like bashing yourself in like some crazy ways, maybe even like bringing up some specific events and describing them, and actually like explaining why they were bad and how you now understand that you were in a dark place and you were like a piece of scheisse. Maybe that will work, maybe not, I don't know. But it will have been a little bit better at least if you will go all in like with all that bad shit that you did for like, because everyone already knows anyway, so why not go all in? Why you have to be like, you know, go into it but in a very, very slight or like minor way.
Self-awareness is different from taking responsibility. DeGeneris offers no apologies or even explanations for her behavior, yet in other more favorable reviews,
that's what I said.
Unapologetic was used as a positive. I like the fact that she's rather unapologetic. It's highly refreshing and honest. This extreme divide can be seen by the audience reviews on Google.
I don't know if they would those could be bots as well, or like all the management team, like obviously there's 50 ratings, all the team who worked on that shit, like just pressed 5 out of 5 and that's it, and those are the real ratings.
Just an equal amount of 1 and 5-star ratings, a sad representation of the black and white thinking that plagues the internet so heavily today.
Yeah, crazy. Mr. Beast versus Coffeezilla situation gets worse. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, anyways, I think I'm gonna call it a day. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.